We got a very special episode today with a fellow manifestation coach. Maybe you've heard of her, maybe not. If not, please check her out on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, on all the socials. She is a psychic, she's a medium, she's a mystic. She is an incredible person, an incredible soul, an incredible teacher of conscious manifestation, of conscious creation, but not just from the perspective of conscious manifestation, but also from a occult perspective. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about a lot of things. You don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. Okay, so Miss Oculus,
Yes.
you are a medium, a psychic, a mystic. So all of that, which is pretty different from what I talk about with conscious manifestation. But obviously, when I found you on TikTok talking about what I talk about, but obviously in a way more fun, no BS type way, I was hooked, right? So I needed more. And I wanted to, I went on to your link tree and I saw a lot of things that I was pretty much unfamiliar with. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to like put together that like occult spiritual part with the scientific analytical part of this whole thing, of these principles, of these concepts, since we do talk about the same things. So I would love to know, and hear more from your perspective on conscious manifestation. So like, how did you get into all of this? Like, what came first, the conscious manifestation part or the other occult parts of your journey?
For me personally, I would say it would have to be like the psychic and intuitive things. Like
Mm.
I've always I don't know how this is gonna sound, but since I was a little kid, I just knew I was psychic and I would say that in my mind. Just because a lot of things, I remember even from childhood, I would think of something and then it would happen. And so that's just the way I've always been. It's kind of part of my personality.
Mm.
And I didn't really get into conscious manifestation maybe until like a few years ago. Like I
Yeah.
always knew that I was creating something because there would just be weird things that would happen. Like I would have precognitive dreams, then it would happen, or I would like say something and then it would happen, but I didn't really know what that was. So I just chalked it up to being psychic. But then after,
Oh, okay.
moving moving further along in my journey, and I've always had an interest in things that are not tangible, so
Right.
like the occultism and astrology and tarot and things that can't be explained. Like I've always been into like ghosts and things like that, like things
Yeah.
that aren't worldly have always interested me. And then that's kind of how it snowballed into me discovering the conscious manifestation part of it.
Well, that makes like actually makes so much sense because like as you're, younger, you're creating something, but like you said, you don't know what it is and how you're doing it, but it's just like you're doing it and you're doing it, and then later on you're like, oh, now it makes all sense, you know.
Yeah, it like comes full circle when you understand like what you're doing. You're like, oh, I can put a name to this.
Yeah, exactly. So like, okay, so you just mentioned, intuition, right? So you doing what you do, you're pretty big on intuition, I'm assuming, just like a lot of people are. Now, we might have different takes on this. We might not. We got to see, right? But I'm like really, really curious, like how you differ, you know, your gut feeling, your intuition from, fears from past experiences talking through your body, like especially in a, emotionally charged situation when we got to like consider, how much um, of our subconscious is influenced by our past experiences. So like, because I myself like to consider intuition being something that guides me to towards peace, towards something good, towards my inner truth. I don't like to think of it as something chaotic and fearful, or like, oh, I just know he's cheating on me, or like I know he's talking to somebody else. Like I don't like calling that intuition. You know what I mean? So like I would love to know like your take on it and how you differ it.
Well, I see it in a similar way that you do, where when your intuition is speaking to you, there's no feeling associated with it, at least for me. It's not
Mhm.
going to be the voice of the ego that is trying to keep you
Right,
constricted by
right,
causing that fear. So anything that causes, a constriction in your body or like a fear or like a negative thought, that is definitely the ego, and it's running off of
exactly.
a
Yes,
shit program that you have going on. So
yes, yes.
intuition is calm. Intuition is just, there's no feeling like, and they
I
say
love that.
calm is a superpower. So like that also ties in with the God consciousness of like when you're being guided by your higher self or universe or source, however anyone wants to call it.
Yeah,
It's just calm. It's peace. There's no ego or fear involved.
like neutrality, basically.
Yeah, true neutral, definitely.
Wow. Oh, I love that actually. I love that. Like, I love that it's not what I heard from other people, like, oh, it's that gut feeling of, something bad is going to happen. And then, later on, it's, oh, see, I knew it. See, I knew it. I knew things like that. They always happen and I'm always right. Well, duh, you persisted in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like you
And
said, the ego mind.
it is. And also, when people talk about a gut feeling, it's typically in a negative sense, right? It's never like, oh,
Yes.
the gut feeling was amazing and everything worked out well. And the gut is actually,
Our second brain.
associated with it's associated with fear. I haven't heard that with the second brain. I don't know. I mean, maybe
Uh-huh.
I don't know anything about that. So if
Oh,
you want to
okay.
elaborate on it being the second brain, then like definitely. But like I do know that the gut is associated with fear. Like that's where your
Right.
fear is stored. So it's like when people are going through something, they typically, their whole like their eating habits change or
Yes.
whatever, and obviously that's coming from the gut.
Yeah.
And if someone is just dominantly in a state of fear, their gut is going to be overactive in that way. So when they say a
Yeah.
gut feeling, it's coming from a place of fear because fear is stored in the gut. Like if you want to take fear as an emotion and put it somewhere in the body to be stored, it will be the gut. So that's my take on the gut thing.
But that actually makes so much sense because, like, now that I think about it, anytime I felt some sort of anxiety or discomfort or like fear, you do feel it down there. And then, like, you know, you gotta, handle some business, if you know what I mean. Or, like,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
not get too TMI, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
so it actually like fucks you up pretty much, your whole system.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
now,
it's um I think it's is it like the ancient Chinese medicine. It's like they talk about it a lot. If you've like studied that, they show where different emotions are actually stored in the body. So I mean, if anyone who's listening is interested in that, like that's like a really good resource. I mean, you could just Google ancient Chinese medicine, ailments and where they're stored, and it'll show the corresponding emotion to the body part that it's
yeah.
linked to.
Uh-huh.
So people can kind of place where they're at. Like if someone's having a lot of like, gastrointestinal issues, then
Yeah.
they're in a state of fear or stress or anxiety, like it's really interesting. I mean, I'm not too well versed in that, but I
Yeah.
just from my own, random Google searches, that's what I've seen. And like you just said, it makes sense because if
Yeah.
you're in a state of fear, your gut is going to get jacked up.
Yeah. That's actually that's very true actually now that I think about it. So like when it comes to all these emotions stored in our body and chakras and stuff like that, like what's your take on it? Like does your whole body need to be aligned when we're manifesting, when we want to manifest something, anything, whether it's SP or good health, like what's your take on, being aligned with the desire and the vibrational frequency of the desire? Stuff
Oh,
like
the
that.
famous line.
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your vibration and live your dreams. Oh
Yeah,
God.
right.
Um, Well, no, I mean, the thing is, we're always manifesting. So you
Yep.
don't need to be in alignment to manifest because it's like your natural set point is you're manifesting. You don't shut it off. It's like breathing. It's just,
Exactly. It's not even your second
yeah,
nature. It's literally what you do. It's
yeah,
you. Yeah.
it's exactly. So, I mean, when people talk about this, like, and I get it, it's like a new age philosophy or
Yeah.
whatever, like raise your vibration. And, you know, part of it is true in my opinion because the more the more I guess in alignment, the more you are with feeling neutral, right? I'm just gonna
Hmm.
go back to this, the true
Yeah.
neutral. The more you just I mean, this is gonna sound fucked up. I mean, but the less you feel things, and I don't mean like walk around like a robot numb. I mean the more like
Mm.
you're just neutral, like you're just
Neutral.
okay, right? Like you
Unbothered.
wouldn't yes, unbothered,
Mm.
perfect. Like,
Mm.
okay, you and I are chatting right now. We don't have any feeling going on, right? We're not like, oh my God. We're not like,
Yeah.
oh, like we're just, it's just flowing, right? There's no feeling associated with that.
Yeah.
To me, that's how one would ideally want to be because when you're just true neutral and you can keep yourself at true neutral no matter what the outside is showing,
Yeah.
then the more you are with that, it I don't want to say raising your vibration, but the less reactive you are to like the lower chakra energies of like the
Right.
gut and like all of that stuff, it's like the quicker you're going to be able to manifest it because you don't
Mm.
have those emotions weighing you down because you're not heavy with those emotions anymore and just by default like the lighter you carry yourself in true neutral, the quicker things are going to become because the lighter an object is, the quicker it moves through time space. So, I mean,
Right.
part of me agrees with it, and part of me is just like, it's kind of misconstrued. Like, it's like, I feel like in the spiritual community or even with the manifestation community, people talk about raise your vibration. It
Mm.
makes it seem like you always have to be in a good mood,
Yeah.
and that's not true because you're
Exactly.
manifesting with, if you're in a bad mood, a good mood.
Yes.
But the more you are in just alignment with that God state, as we talked about, intuition, true neutral, there's not the feeling
Yeah.
associated with it, the easier your life is going to be. And that, again, that's my opinion
Exactly.
as a
I
non
agree.
professional.
No, that is
Okay.
professional. That is a fact. In my reality, that is a fact. So that's fact. Absolutely, I agree 100%. Because like when I was manifesting, my boyfriend back, we were on a broken up. I was not high vibes, not at all. I was, crying, throwing tantrums all day. I was a chaotic mess, emotional mess, but I got him back in a matter of days. So I didn't need to be happy, right? I just did what I had to do. I persisted in the outcome that I wanted. I didn't take anything from the 3D as fact. Even though I got, basically slapped in the face with, him saying, I don't want to ever hear from you again or talk to you again. But no, I didn't take it as an answer. So I got what I wanted. So what I wanted to ask you is, since we're talking about, these neutral states of being, like, how do you go about, some circumstance popping up in your world that, is not favorable? Obviously, if you feel comfortable sharing, like, how do you handle it? How do you react to it? Like, what do you do? What do you not do, in those situations?
For me personally, I'm full Delulu. Like that for me is just I don't look at things that I don't like. I'm like that
Yeah.
this isn't occurring. That's not what it is. And it doesn't matter what I'm feeling. Like, I mean, I've been really, really good at any time a feeling comes up, I'm just like, let it pass. It has nothing to do with anything. And then I get myself back to true neutral because it's the feeling will trip you up every time. This is
Yeah.
why I'm very big on just being nonchalant because it's like all of your feelings are coming from a thought, right? But
Yeah.
if you have just a built up momentum of shit thoughts,
Hmm.
then your feelings have to follow it. And then, Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot. He's like, your thoughts become your beliefs. And like, I'm
Yeah.
sure people know what I'm talking about when he says, I can't word it the way he does, but basically he says that your mood is based, it all starts with a thought, and then it
Yeah.
just, you had so many negative thoughts that the feelings just manifested in your body,
Yeah.
and then you think that that's normal for you, and it's not normal to walk around feeling like shit.
No.
It's not, you know so for me, I've learned to just bypass feelings that I don't like. And I don't mean, oh, so what this, oh, but that's spiritual bypassing. No, it's saying this feeling has nothing to do with anything. It's just my body thinks that there's something going on when there's really no problem. Because if you
Yeah.
can get your mind right and not couple a thought to the feeling,
Hmm.
because if you amplify your thought with the feeling, the two of them together, it's going to be stronger, because now you've associated
Exactly.
what the feeling means, when feelings don't mean anything. Like, in order to even articulate a feeling, you have to have a thought, right? This
Exactly.
feels bad, this feels good. So
Yeah.
I just personally tell myself, it doesn't matter what this feeling is. I deep breathe, and then I'm like, this is gone. It passed, right? This too
Yeah.
shall pass, right?
Yeah.
And I let it go. And then I'll go with robotic affirmations, and I'll say, my life is perfect, everything is amazing, or whatever, until it calms the feeling down, right?
Yeah.
Until the feeling isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, when people manifest, it's like that's how they spiral, and then they create all sorts of scenarios that they don't want, because they believe that the feeling is real,
Yeah.
when the feeling is just there because it's stored from a program that you didn't want in the first place. And the
Yeah.
less you react to that feeling, it's, the more it's going to dissipate from your experience. So
Yeah.
I
Because
don't
you're not
even.
validating it, basically.
Exactly. I mean, like, you can say, like, yeah, like, there's a reason why this feeling is here,
Yeah. We
but
can
it doesn't
acknowledge it.
yeah, like, I would not ever recommend to anyone to, like, suppress their feelings,
No,
and
no, no, no.
pretend they don't feel, like, that's, I'm
Never.
like, if you need to, like, cry or, like,
Hmm.
punch something,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you
Yes. Scream into a pillow.
exactly. Like, that's fine, but don't associate that the feeling means anything. Just say, this feeling is passing. I'm letting it out. The end. That's like
Exactly.
the best advice I could give anyone. And it's like part of what, binds our attention to the 3D is the feeling, right?
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
it's adding an extra element to the experience. But why would you want to entertain something that, like, doesn't feel good? Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't even make logical sense. You're not going to
Yeah.
watch a show that you don't enjoy, so you're going to
Yes.
change the channel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be my thing. If there's a 3D circumstance that pops up and it causes a feeling, let the feeling pass, but don't associate a thought to it that you don't want. Just say, this is just a feeling. It's passing. My life is perfect. Everything is amazing. And,
Exactly.
like, the more you do that, the easier it'll be.
Exactly. Exactly. Like the feeling, the negative feeling is not the end result of the desire, that you want to manifest. It's just whatever in the moment, it's energy passing through you, energy in motion, emotion, whatever. So
Yeah.
acknowledge it,
Yeah.
but don't accept it. Don't accept it as fact, you know?
Yeah, because it's not a fact, it's a feeling. Like, you
Yes.
can't place anything on a feeling. Like, in order to compartmentalize what a feeling is, you have to have a thought. So the thought
Yes.
overrides the feeling every time. So
Yes.
the more you just, this is why I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where robotic affirmations first even popped up, but I just started seeing it in the manifesting community. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this really works, because your thoughts are literally creating your beliefs, which are going to create the feelings. So if
Exactly.
you if you keep your mind on what you want, no matter what you're feeling, it will materialize. So the feelings don't matter, and you could still
Exactly.
manifest something positive even if you're not feeling good.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right. Like even, when people feel bad, I know from personal experience, you feel bad. and it feels so real. It feels like it's all over, but it's just because, that feeling, that negative feeling might align with your current belief system about the circumstance or about the desire. So it feels more real. It feels like it's set in stone when in fact it's so far from it, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to, your methods to manifesting, obviously you said robotically affirming, which obviously I also do and love. So like, do you use tarot cards, to your advantage, like in astrology, like in all those concepts? Like, do you implement them and how?
With manifesting, I don't utilize tarot or astrology. They're just
Mm,
kind of there.
mhm,
For me personally, it's like, and people are going to say, oh, but astrology is a belief system, tarot is a belief system. Yes. And
mhm.
I believe that they can be accurate, but I don't look at them negatively. Again, like, if we want to say I use robotic affirmations, I use Delulu method because, if I'm looking at something for astrology and they say, oh, well, the moon is in this sign today, so you have to watch out for this or that. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, the moon
Yes.
is in this sign because I'm getting whatever I want right now.
Yes.
Like, yeah, so it's like I don't see an issue. Like, there's like a big debate, people saying that if you want to manifest, you can't ask a psychic reader for
Mhm,
advice, but I don't think that that's true
mhm.
because number one, people who get manifesting coaching, right?
Yeah.
They're getting coaching because they want another perspective of someone who is outside the situation who might be able to
Yes.
see something that they don't because they're not in it, right? So they're
Yeah.
looking at it from an observer. So it's the same thing if you get like a tarot card reading. It's like the
Mm,
person is just giving you advice as a neutral observer. It's
yeah.
not like they're telling you what to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, I personally don't use, like for manifesting, I don't use astrology or tarot. I'm just kind of like, okay, like it's like separate for me because
Uh-huh.
I know that I'm controlling my reality. But you know, I think it can be a useful tool if you want assistance from like an outside perspective or like even just for fun. Like it's
Yeah.
fun, to look at your astrology chart and be like, oh, that's interesting. Like if you believe in it, if you don't, then you don't. But I look at it more as like a fun experience,
Yeah.
and I do find things about them to be accurate, but at the end of the day, I'm in control of my experience. There's not
Yes.
going to be anything outside of me that is telling me what I'm about.
Yeah. So like what would you tell people, who do go to tarot readers and they get a reading that says like, "Oh, you guys are not meant to be together," or he or she's talking to somebody else, or "Oh, you're not going to get this job. This job is not meant for you." Like what would you say to those people? Like what's the approach there?
Well, remember the tarot reader, right? If everyone is you pushed out, the tarot reader is also you, the person, not you. You know what I mean, right? It's the
Yes.
person, the person who's getting the reading
Hmm.
is having this energy in them. So the tarot reader is picking up on their energy. And let's say the person has a fear that they're not going to get the job. And then the
Yes.
tarot reader says that. The
Hmm.
tarot reader just is reflecting back that person's story that they already have going on. So
That part.
with tarot readings, I think that they can be very useful because it might be the way that someone explains something in a way where
Mm.
the person finds something that clicks, like they didn't think of that before because, it was just like they were too uh, personally embedded in the situation. The outside perspective is like, hey, have you thought of this? Right.
Yeah.
But also, the tarot reader, because everyone is you pushed out, they're only going to reflect what you have going on within you.
Yeah.
So I think tarot readings, ideally you want to use them as like confirmation of what you already
Mm.
know, just maybe put in a different perspective where something clicks for you. And that's the way that like when I've read for people, they were like, "Oh my God, I already knew that." But the way you said it, it's like, it's just a way to get clarity because it's
Right.
not going to reflect something that you don't already have going on. But sometimes you just need to hear it from
Yeah.
someone else for
Yeah.
you to
Like maybe
believe it.
even put together and like in different words that you would never put together for yourself.
Yes. Yes,
I love that.
exactly.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like a tarot reading can actually be, you know, good for you. So you know where you stand internally in regards to your desire. Like you said, like a confirmation, to
Hmm.
yourself. So, yeah. I actually love that. Yeah. I love that. Love that. So how could somebody is it even possible to develop these abilities like these psychic abilities or like these reading abilities or is it something that you're just born with? What would you say?
I mean that, I can only answer for myself. I don't, I'm not speaking for any other tarot reader or
Mm.
psychic or whatever, but I think that in my opinion, everyone does have psychic ability because remember, it's all one consciousness. So
Yes.
theoretically, everyone and everything is connected, right? So
Yes.
if you want to know something that's going on across the world, you do have the ability to tap into that. And I think everyone has that, but because everyone's path is different and how everyone is their own God operating in their own universe, it's like some people
Mm.
just aren't, they don't believe in it. They're like, oh, well, psychic ability like that, it's a coincidence or whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, if someone has an interest in it, it's like any hobby, some people like baseball. Some people like tennis. You know what I mean? It just depends. If you're into it, then you're going to find the means to get good at it, right? But
Right.
if you're not into it, then you're just not going to care. So I think if
Yeah.
someone does have, the inclination towards, mediumship or reading cards, then they definitely, it's more, I feel like an interest of the person, but everyone can tap into it. But does everyone want to? No.
Right. 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 And plus, like a lot of people like to give like other people the authority. Maybe authority is like a stupid word to say, but like some just people like to hear other people's perspective on the matter like like we just mentioned for this some sort of confirmation rather than just say, oh, I'm going to read my own cards, oh yeah, I'm good you know
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like sometimes you just want like encouragement or
yeah,
advice or something from another person that
yeah,
when you're personally attached to a situation, it can be hard to see from a neutral angle. So that's where I think, the tarot
exactly,
card reader can come in, just like, a manifestation coach can come in and be like, but have you looked at it this way? It's not that they're telling the other
mhm,
person what to do. It's just
yeah,
they're adding like another doorway into
yeah,
the room,
yeah,
so and I think all angles are like perfectly acceptable. It's like sometimes people just want to have encouragement. There's nothing wrong
yeah,
with that.
yeah, exactly. And just like in every single field, whether it's coaching, whether it's tarot, astrology, people do take advantage of people's vulnerability and just say whatever comes to mind, but we can't blame a whole uh category of people based off of some scammers, because there are scammers coaches and readers, and so yeah, we just can't blame everybody for that.
Oh yeah, there are scammers in every area. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, like there are valid psychics out there. There are people who just do it for money. And, I mean, I feel like if you're like, I will say this, if like a psychic is telling you that someone put a curse on you and you have to pay them like $800 to remove it, number one, that's bullshit. I don't give a fuck. That's a bunch of bullshit. So
Hmm.
anyone out there who wants to get a psychic reading and you're told that, you need to like run far
Yeah.
away from that. So I mean, that's like, because a valid psychic is not gonna put you in a place of fear. Like that's not their
Yes.
job.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh my God, I love that. And that also goes for coaches. If a coach is
Yeah.
making you feel fearful or out of control or limited, run. Well,
Yeah, or if a coach is like, "Oh, you can't manifest that because of free will. You
yeah.
can't manifest that because of karma." Oh, hell
Yes.
no. Like no.
So, Miss Oculus, I really want to thank you for doing this little episode with me. And before I let you go, please tell the people where they can find you, how they can reach you, and what you do offer from like what your services are.
Yeah, so I offer psychic mediumship. I offer astrology readings, tarot card readings, manifestation coaching, just general life advice if you need someone to talk to and
Hmm.
you want questions answered that you feel like people in your everyday life wouldn't understand. I'm here for the strange and unusual. And you can find me at 0QULUS.com. And that's the same username of Hulu's across the board for all the social TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, Reddit, everywhere. So that's
X
my
as
name.
in former Twitter, right?
Yes, X as in for the site formerly known as Twitter.
I can never get used to X. Like I will never get used to it.
I know it's so weird, but I'm
I
just like,
hate
all
it.
right, I'll call it X. So,
Right. I hate it so much. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this with me this time, and hopefully we can do maybe another episode sometime soon.
yeah, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's a great conversation, and
Yeah,
yeah, we'll be in touch.
absolutely.